If your business employs fewer than 50 full-time or full-time equivalent employees, and the healthcare plan that is offered to employees is self-insured, it is likely you will be required to complete the Forms 1095B and 1094B to be in compliance with the Affordable Care Act. In this lesson, we will walk through the process of preparing these forms, and you will learn about the different options you have to submit them to the IRS and your employees at the end of the year. There are a few steps you should take before printing or submitting your 1095 and 1094 forms. First, review the year-end software update notice and install the year-end update. At the end of each year, Sage provides an update that includes changes to the software to accommodate any new reporting requirements for year-end. Next, you'll want to make sure you're up to speed on the reporting requirements for the Affordable Care Act. This is to ensure you prepare and submit the correct forms and insurance to the IRS and your employees. One of the factors that will help you determine which Affordable Care Act forms you will be required to submit and what information needs to be included on them is to determine the number of full-time and full-time equivalent employees at your company. Use the ACA reports in payroll to determine these counts. And once you know what your full-time and full-time equivalent accounts are and which forms you will be required to submit, you will want to make sure that you're tracking the appropriate information in payroll so that when you're ready to prepare the forms, all the necessary information will be included. This chart provides, at a glance, the Affordable Care Act forms and information that must be provided to employees and the IRS at the end of the year. In this lesson, we will walk through the process of preparing and submitting the 1095B and 1094B forms, which is required if your business offers a self-insured health care plan to employees, and you're not an applicable large employer, or one that has fewer than 50 full-time or full-time equivalent employees. Let's go ahead and get started. In the payroll menu, select Federal and State Tax Filing. Then select Federal Forms. Select the 1095/1094B form in the list. A description of the form displays to the right, and all that you need to do to get started is to confirm that the correct year is selected here, and then click Run Report. You may receive a message to complete an update to your Atrix forms. This is a normal process, as our integration with Atrix always guarantees you have the latest forms and information. Then click Next, and once the update is finished, click Close. Read the 1095B Company Information message, and then click OK. And the ACA Setup Wizard opens. This will guide you through the preliminary steps. In the first step, you will need to decide what you want to do. Your options are to test drive with just the first 25 employees, or test drive with all employees, or process the actual 1095 and 1094 forms. If you're here to simply test this out, use one of the test drive options, as it doesn't save any of the data, just allows you to try the feature out. If you're ready to prepare the official forms, select No Thanks, Start Processing My 1095, 1094s, and then click Next. In the next step, confirm that the Federal Employer Identification Number for your company has pre-filled correctly, then click Next. Your company information in the upper portion of this window should be included automatically, but you will need to make sure that all fields are correct and make any changes if necessary. And in the lower portion of the window, enter the contact information for the person who is completing the ACA forms. The company and contact information you've entered here will be reported in boxes 1 through 8 on the 1094B form. When you're done, click Next to continue. Select the appropriate tax preparer type, and then click Next. In the Employee and Covered Individual Social Security Numbers window, you will need to indicate how you would like the Social Security numbers for employees and their covered individuals to be displayed on the printed copies sent to the employees. For employees, you have the option to show the full Social Security number or truncate it using asterisks or X's to show only the last 4 digits. If you select to truncate the employee's Social Security number, the same choice will be automatically selected for the covered individuals below. While preparing the forms, the full Social Security number will be displayed on the screen, but when the actual copies of the forms for the employees print, the options selected here determine how the Social Security numbers will display. Once you have selected the options you would like to use, click Next. If you track payroll data for a single EIN in multiple master files, the system has the ability to combine them in this process so that all your 1095 and 1094B information can be compiled in a single session. In this example, all the payroll data is stored in a single file, so we'll select No. I use a single payroll data file for this EIN, and then click Next. And this starts the transfer of data from your program into the forms. And the 1095, 1094B Preparer window opens. This will guide you through the remaining steps to prepare and submit your tax forms. Before you start, take a moment to get familiar with the Preparer window. At the top of the window, you will see a status bar and lets you know what step in the process you are on, and the instructions tell you what information you should be reviewing during that step. For example, this is step 1 of 4, and the instructions say, Verify employee information. In this step, you'll want to confirm the basic information, such as Social Security numbers, address, and any other information is correct for each employee. More on that in a moment. When you've completed a step, you can use the Next button at the top to move on to the next step. Or, if you ever need to go back to a previous step, you can use the Previous button. On the right is a side panel, and that contains some helpful information. At the top of the panel, you will see tips that you can read through. The tips displayed here provide helpful information regarding the use of the Preparer window, and information that must be provided to ensure your forms are complete and accurate. You can toggle between the different tips using the forward and back buttons here. And if you would like to read more about any of the tips displayed here, you can click the More Information link. When you click it, a website will open in your internet browser, and here you can use the links below or the search box to find the information you need to continue processing your forms. There is also a general help option available, which you can access by clicking the Help button here. When you click it, a website will open in your internet browser, and here you can use the links below or the search box to find the information you need to continue processing your forms. Another area in the sidebar to keep an eye on is the lower portion, where the preparer displays any errors encountered as you're working in the window. If any errors are detected, this section includes information about the errors and what you need to do to fix them. You cannot proceed to the next step until the errors have been resolved. The fields that the errors pertain to also appear in red in the main area of the window. We'll look at how to review and correct these errors in just a moment. If at any time you would like to shrink or hide the sidebar, you can do so by clicking the arrow button here. Now let's talk about the information that is displayed in the main area of this window. All of your employees will be listed in rows in the Employee Information Grid, with all the information that is needed to complete the 1095B forms in the columns that are labeled across the top. When an employee is selected in the Employee Information Grid, the information for that employee is also displayed in the lower portion of the window. The lower portion of the window is broken up into 2 tabs, with the information for the employee on the Employee Entry tab and the information for covered individuals that is used to complete Part 4 of the 1095B form on the Covered Individuals tab. The preparer will guide you through the process of reviewing all the information that will be reported on the forms, so it's best to focus on just the information that is highlighted in yellow during each step so you don't miss anything. To move between employees, you can click anywhere on the row for the employee you want to view, or you can move from one employee to the next using the forward or backward buttons in the lower portion of the window. As you're reviewing the employee information, if you're unsure about the information that should be included in any of the fields, you can hover your mouse over the field and a tooltip opens providing details about the information required in the field. If you attempt to move to the next step before correcting all the errors, a message will appear letting you know there's still some errors that must be corrected before you proceed. Click OK, and the errors that need to be addressed will be displayed in the sidebar on the right, and the fields that they're located in will be highlighted in red in both the employee information grid and in the lower portion of the window. Errors can be corrected in the employee information grid or in the lower portion of the window. However, making corrections in the 1095-1094B Preparer window does not update the information in payroll itself. So in most cases, it's best to close out of the Preparer and fix the information in payroll, rather than making the changes here. If changes are made anywhere in the Preparer window, make sure to remember to update the information in payroll when you're done. The employee in this example is missing the zip code, so to fix it, click into the zip code field and enter it. As each error is corrected, it's removed from the list. Now that all the errors have been corrected, you can click Next Step. The Preparer advances to Step 2 of 4, where you will need to verify the policy origin code for each employee. Like the employee information in Step 1, changes can be made, if necessary, in the lower portion of the window, or up above in the employee information grid. Again, changes made here do not update the information in your payroll software. So if you do make changes here, make sure to remember to go back and update the information in payroll afterwards. Once you've confirmed the policy origin code for each employee is correct, click Next. Now we're up to Step 3 of 4, where you will need to verify that the covered individual's information for each employee is correct. Notice that the Covered Individuals tab for the employee is now displayed automatically in the lower portion of this window. First covered individual listed is the employee, and any additional covered individuals and the information entered for them that has been entered under the Employee's ACA tab in the Payroll module. The information you see in this step will be reported in the Part 4 of the 1095B form. For each covered individual, the 1095B form requires either the Social Security number or date of birth, but not both. So if you've entered both on the employee setup, it will use the Social Security number and leave the date of birth field blank. The checkboxes to the right indicate which months they were covered under the healthcare plan. If they were covered for the entire year, the All box is selected. Otherwise, only the months they were covered will be selected. You can make changes as necessary, and you can even add covered individuals or remove them using the buttons here. But again, remember that these changes will not be reflected in the payroll records unless you remember to go back and make them there as well. Once you've verified the covered individual's information for each employee is correct, click Next. In Step 4 of the Preparer, you can verify the employee's electronic delivery information. If any of your employees have opted to receive an electronic copy of their 1095B form, select the Electronic Only checkbox. Then confirm that the correct email address is displayed. If not there, you can enter it. This option should only be selected for employees who have opted to receive an electronic copy instead of a printed copy of the 1095B form. In the next step, you will decide how you want to submit your 1095 and your 1094B forms to employees and the IRS. If you choose the complete e-filing service, each employee that is selected as an electronic only will receive an electronic copy of this form and will not receive a paper copy. There is a significant cost savings in the complete eFile service package for employees who will receive their forms electronically. More on that in a moment. There is an electronic 1095 consent form available in the 5.4 Federal Forms window that you can print and provide to any of your employees who would like to receive electronic copies of the 1095. When you're ready to continue, click Next. In this window, you must indicate how you would like to submit the 1095 and the 1094B forms to the IRS and your employees. The complete e-filing service includes printing and mailing the physical copies of the forms to the employees, or providing the electronic copies to those who have opted to receive their forms in an electronic format, as well as electronic filing of the forms 1095 and 1094B with the IRS. If you prefer to print and mail these forms on your own, or would like to choose a combination of printed and e-file forms, select other options and indicate which forms you'd like to print versus those you would like to e-file. For example, if you'd like to print and mail the copies on your own, select Print My Employee 1095Bs. Clear the option to e-file and select Print Federal Copy 1095Bs, 1094B. Then click Next. One more window displays to explain the benefits of the complete ACA eFile service. If you changed your mind, you can select Yes here. If not, click Next. The last step is to review and confirm the forms that will be printed. The list displays all forms and how they will be processed in the Forms viewer. Make sure you review the action list for accuracy. You can also print a copy of this action list for your records by clicking the Print button. To start printing the forms, click Next. The Forms viewer window opens and displays the first copy that will print. In this case, it's the federal copy of the 1094B form. The Forms viewer works in the same manner as any other tax form created in the 5.4 Federal and State Tax Filing menu. You can see how many pages will print and scroll between them using the buttons in the top left. The wording in the report steps tells you what to do, and up at the top will show you how many reports you have to print and which one you're currently working on. When you're ready to print the form, click Print Final. Some tax forms require specialized paper, and others should be printed on standard printer paper. Each time you click Print Final, a warning will display to let you know which type of paper to use for the copy being printed. In this case, this copy should be printed on plain paper. Once you confirm the correct paper is loaded in your printer, click OK. And the Printer Options window appears, where you can change any printing preferences as necessary. When you're ready to print the form, click OK. And after confirming that it printed properly, click Next Step. The next report in the Forms viewer opens. In this case, it's the federal copies of the 1095B forms. Notice the number of pages. There will be a 1095B for each employee that was included in 1095, 1094B Preparer window. You can use the forward and the back buttons in the top to move between pages if you want to view each one. And when ready, click Print Final. Make sure you have plain paper loaded into the printer and click OK. Check the printing preferences again, and when you're ready, click OK to start printing the forms. Verify that everything printed properly and click Next Step. And the next report, Report 3 out of 5, loads. It's the Employee 1095B forms. These copies should be distributed to the employees. When you're ready to print the forms, click Print Final. Notice the paper warning that displays for this report has changed. These copies that are distributed to employees must meet certain requirements, and we recommend you use specialized forms for this copy. Once the correct paper is loaded in the printer, click OK. Check your printing preferences and click OK to print the forms. Then click Next Step to move to the next report. Report 4 of 5 is the Employee 1095B notice. It's required to be included in the 1095-B forms that are mailed to the employees. This information may be already included on the back of the specialized forms that you used in the previous step, but if not, this step allows you to print a single copy of the notice. You can then make copies of it and include it with the copies of the 1095-B forms that you distribute to each employee. When you're ready to print the notice, click Print Final. Verify the correct paper is loaded into the printer and click OK. Check your printing preferences and click OK to print. Then click Next Step to move to the last report. Report 5 is the Employer 1095-B. In other words, it's the record copies of the 1095-B forms for the employer. To print copies for your records, click Print Final. Load the correct paper and click OK. Verify your printing preferences and click OK to print the copies. And finally, click Next Step. And you're done! The 1095 and 1094-B forms have all been printed and they're waiting for you on the printer. The History File Options window opens, showing you the status of all the completed actions. It also provides you with some options on the right. To reprint completed 1095, 1094-Bs, eFile or print incomplete 1095, 1094-Bs, make corrections or start over. If you need to use any of these available options, select one and click Next. Otherwise, to exit the ACA Preparer, click the Close button. Now that you've completed this lesson, you should be able to complete the filings for your federal 1095-B and 1094-B forms.